Thank you so much, Majesty. The time travel meditation by Adrienne Marie Brown we did a little bit earlier is a well of hope and imagination and creativity and clarity when I feel really dry, tired, and caged by oppression. And the song we just drank in by Majesty, Home, starts with the lyrics, "When I think of home, I think of a place where love is overflowing. I wish I was home." I feel that futuristic dimension, this time and place where society and all individuals live in a way that love is overflowing, where all bodies are safe and valued and our world is relationship, not profit-centered. What are the ways to that? What are the things you found? What is the path to love overflowing as a means of organizing a whole society? The song ends with this hint on the other side. "And I've learned that we must look inside our hearts to find a world full of love, like yours, like me, like home." I believe we have the tools to alchemize scarcity into abundance, fear to healing, neglect to witnessing. It's both in our hearts and something we bring out and share with one another. It's possible when we have started the tender work within and dare to follow the journey personally before we can bring that good news to our communities. The news of how not you got free, but how you continue to get free, a lifestyle of liberation. The past week, I researched World AIDS Day, which is today and was founded in 1988, 31 years ago. I read articles, watched reports and interviews, and learned a lot. UN AIDS theme for World AIDS Day 2019 is Communities Make the Difference. And their website states, communities of people living with and affected by HIV, along with peer educators, counselors, community health workers, door-to-door service providers, civil society organizations, and grassroots activists are leading and campaigning to ensure that AIDS response remains relevant. They're fighting to keep people at the center of decision-making and program implementation and help to ensure that no one is left behind, that we are found. Rico Gustav from the Global Network of People Living with HIV said this, quote, "Community-led responses matter because it is communities who face adversities that know how to overcome them. People want to be part of the change, and when they lead the change, it's more effective and sustainable." End quote. The path to home is a world where queer, brown, Black, and Indigenous bodies are safe. A society where sex workers, drug users, and the homeless are not punished, criminalized, and killed. A spell for such a world is before us. It's in us. Among us, it's community-led organizing, it's listening and centering the needs of the marginalized in our world, which runs off of scarcity and separateness and otherness. It's to reorient ourselves, to value healing and wholeness, and not just image, profit, and resource hoarding called wealth. So I like to come at things with a metaphor. And so when I often learn about issues that are more susceptible in vulnerable communities. So for example, AIDS, which notably is more common in the gay men community, or it affected them most strongly for a period of time. I remember the warning archetype of a canary in a coal mine. I believe marginalized experiences are canaries in the coal mines of oppression. Canaries are the first to die and suffer the effects of poor air circulation, toxic fumes, and death-cultivating conditions. The canary is also the caged bird, singing a freedom, not a freedom the coal miners could imagine or even organize for, like, hey, more breaks, or let's have some water, or can we at least have clean air? No, the canary sings not of just being out of the caves, but of the sky, of flying, of agency and creative expression. The canary is the oracle of liberation beyond temporary relief a coal miner could hope for. We must listen with fervor and care to the canaries in our society. Legendary and clear Black lesbian American writer Audre Lorde put it neatly in 1984. Quote, "For the master's tools will never dismantle the master's house. They may allow us temporarily to beat him at his own game, but they will never enable us to bring about genuine change. And this fact is only threatening to those who still define the master's house as their only source of support. In a world of possibility for us all, our personal visions," remember that time travel? "Help lay the groundwork for political action in our world, and divide and conquer must become define and empower." End quote. When learning about the early years organizing and the current climate of AIDS in the United States, I noticed the tools of oppression which are repeated across identities, the ways systems keep us caged in, quote, "the master's house." And I also noticed the magic we each have access to. It's alchemy work that doesn't happen quick or easy. It's the mindful, consistent, proximate, tender care of being with, nudging, moving, transforming towards love, towards home. Right where the tragedy is also an invitation to what Octavia Butler calls shaping change. The early 80s began in mystery as people started to hear of people getting sick and dying. Robert Vasquez Pacheco, a Puerto Rican gay man who lived in New York City and later organized with ACT UP in the mid-80s, remembers in an interview, he first learned of AIDS officially in 1982 in a New York Times article. He was with his partner, and just 3 months later, his love of 6 years was diagnosed with AIDS and died soon after that. Robert was in grief. He was gay and out. He was positive and without resources, and heartbroken at the inaction nationally and politically. Robert was radicalized, moved to organize, to do something. In a time where people were bluntly punished for one or an intersection of being queer, of being trans, of being Black, of being poor, a drug user, a sex worker, where they were neglected and ignored, Robert and many others worked not with the master's tools alone, but centered the Canaries' dream. They called for the true antidotes to apathy, stigma, and fear: access, education, and resources. What Audre Lorde calls define and empower, to face the nameless, learn about it, and seek healing, not relief. Here at All Souls, RAIN, the Regional AIDS Interfaith Network, had a chapter, and many All Souls members served on a care team, which was assigned a community member diagnosed with AIDS. The team would support them with rides to the doctor's appointments, locating housing, groceries, pastoral presence, and at the heart of it, stigma-free community and care. Often only for a few months, until the virus took their life. When I spoke to Elaine Hammer, who serves on the All Souls RAIN team in the 90s and now serves on our care team in Helping Souls, she shared with me the heartache of death after death, of witnessing shame and paranoia in the community and the resulting isolation persons with AIDS were met with, in addition to a lack of treatment for a painful virus. She also shared the relief and budding hope when treatments started to work, when people started to live. Around this time is when Black American athlete Magic Johnson shared in a press conference he was HIV positive. In the 90s, it was like he just announced, 1, he was going to die very soon, and 2, it was by a disease of the untouchable. America loved and couldn't ignore Magic Johnson, and they couldn't look away. Also in this decade, quilts were made to visualize and personalize the magnitude of lives lost due to public neglect and fear. Hopefully you were able to see the quilts, and we'll see it out in the foyer on loan from the Equality Center. The 90s revealed the antidotes to stigma is visibility. The spell which casts out othering and neglect is the shameless practices of interdependence and proximity. And when there seems to be no easy solutions, the invitation is always there to do something, and more possibilities will be revealed. Now, in the United States, one of the greatest barriers to getting care and prevention tools to people is still a lack of knowledge, further obstructed by stigma and other oppressions. It's the obstacles of inefficient public transportation, needle exchange programs being blocked politically, normalizing inaccurate and abstinence-based sex education, religious fear and shame preventing education and accessing resources. Nearly half of all people living with HIV and who will get infected this year live in the South. This disproportionate vulnerability reveals people are still punished for being Black, queer, trans, poor, a drug user, and homeless. The people organizing for love and shaping liberating change in their communities are the people who live with HIV and are affected by HIV. Health workers, sex educators, politicians, community members who keep access and resource, funding and policies, visibility and advocacy and education, which centers the holistic needs of their community at the core of their daily work. It's the daring people who move to the song of the canary, the caged bird that knows there is so much more in a world of love and liberation to be working towards. In all these stories and more, we see the network of life at work. I think of God this way sometimes, the network of life, a network connected by an invisible and non-severable mutuality, that when recognized, we can co-create love, justice, equity, and healing, and when ignored, we replicate the cages we were born into and trained to maintain. UNAIDS reminds us relationship, tapping into the power to shape change with the network of life, brings change, which gets us closer to a future of love overflowing. Quote, communities make an invaluable contribution to the AIDS response. Communities of people living with HIV, of key populations, lead and support the delivery of HIV services. They defend human rights, support their peers. Communities are the lifeblood of an effective AIDS response and an important pillar of support. End quote. So I leave you with this. This sermon today is not only about AIDS awareness. It's linked to the universal responsibility, the invitation and call to live a life of meaning and service. What are you creating with your power? Your capacity to shape change and alchemize hurt into healing. AIDS is one wave in the ocean of opportunity to wake up, to learn about the Canaries of the past and present, to center the dream of the future and dare to utilize tools like love and courage and time travel and dedication and a faith in mutuality to fuel your lifestyle. There is still hurt that needs tending to and transformation. Take now your place. Remember your vital part in the healing of humanity. Utilize God, the network of life, and the inevitability of change to shape our world a little closer to what home can be like. May it be so.
You're visiting with us online today. We love connecting with people all across the country and around the world, sharing our powerful message of love beyond belief.
There's something new happening here. You can now join All Souls as a virtual member. Our virtual membership is designed for friends who live outside of Tulsa, Oklahoma, and who want to engage with All Souls in a meaningful way.
You can be part of an expanding family, a global family really, wherever you are. If you live in Oklahoma,
Ohio,
or Orange County, California,
Canada,
or Cameroon. By becoming a virtual member, you'll be able to deepen your connections with members and friends here in Tulsa and with members wherever you are.
Each week, you'll receive special All Souls content tailored for you, our virtual members. Virtual members have access to pastoral care, to personal prayers, and also receive invitations to exclusive web events.
You can learn more, and if you're ready, you can become a virtual member today by visiting allsoulschurch.org/virtual membership.
We're grateful our ministries are having a positive impact on your life, and we want to share the good news of love beyond belief with more and more people. So no matter what, we need your support to keep this ministry growing and thriving, so please consider making a gift today. You can do so by texting
LOVEBB for Love Beyond Belief to 73256, or simply visit our website. You are a blessing in our lives. May you be blessed.
And be a blessing.